Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And for those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Catherine and I tell true stories. My story today is about when the dead speak. Most of us think that when you die, that is the end of everything, or we wish that that was the end of everything. You know why? Because probably of the deeds that you're doing at the moment and are scared of judgment and are scared of changing the lifestyle that you're leading, hoping that there is no life after death, with these excuses of you only live once, so you have to mess as much as you want, you know. But there are true stories that show that there is life after death. There is another world up there, another world out there. And this is not just from the evil Ouija boards that people use to communicate with the dead. These things have happened actually without the use of the Ouija board or without trying to contact these dead people, but the dead people themselves have spoken. You don't expect them to be speaking like, hey guys, I don't like this and this and this. No, they speak with signs, just like the evil Ouija boards. There are people who speak with signs. Watch to the end. There is this old man who died. He had different wives and so produced different kids from different mothers. And these are stepkids, stepsisters. And there was no good relationship between the stepsisters. And so one side of the sisters decided to cause havoc to the other side of the sisters by consulting, witches to attack the other family. And during that ceremony, of course, it failed. It thunderously failed because they believed that their dad, who had married different wives, favored this other side of the first wife, and so they were jealous. This fights in polygamous families. So they decided that they're gonna kill their sister, but through witchcraft. Because they believed in witchcraft at the same time they were Christian. So you wonder. So they consulted the strongest witch doctor in Africa, in Kenya rather, but I'm sure he's international. He died anyway. He was international. And he couldn't make it because what happened during the rituals, they will live to remember. The moment they threw the items of the sister-in-law, the stepsister rather, that they wanted to kill, the moment they threw into their paraphernalia that they were dancing around, hell broke loose. The roofs of the huts around that village were thrown apart. And mark you, their father never loved witchcraft, although these daughters on the other side really loved witchcraft because I assume probably their mother introduced it to them. Or it's just they couldn't find an easier way of getting results than consulting witches, so they believed. So they went and laid a skull. Where people get human skulls, I don't understand. Probably they dig them up or they're given by the witch they are consulting. In this case, they went and laid the skull on the fresh grave of their grandfather. Was it really fresh? Yeah, it was fresh because he'd been buried a few weeks ago. So they went and, in memory, they went and laid a skull and some witches' paraphernalia that the witch had given them to use to attack the person they really loved. He really loved also. Remember, their father never loved witchcraft. Although he was not a very practicing Christian, but he never loved witchcraft. He'd rather be there than practice this witchcraft. The moment they laid the human skull, on his grave was the moment everything was thrown off from the grave again. So why? Why did it just happen? The moment they lay the skull on the grave is the moment everything was thrown off by the wind. Should we say it was a coincidence? But why should this coincidence just happen when they put the paraphernalia of their sister that they never liked into the witches' paraphernalia? That it happens? That the things are thrown apart, the roofs are thrown apart? Why didn't it happen before? And why shouldn't it happen that? Why should it happen that when they lay the skull of a dead person, of course a skull will be of a dead person, that they lay the skull on the grave of their father and some other witchcraft paraphernalia, that these things are thrown off the grave, as in he had spoken. And to death, until death, he never loved witchcraft, and he threw off the paraphernalia. This is one of the ways that the dead communicate. Well, the scientist here, please tell me how scientific that is. If you have a scientific explanation, put it in the comments. Then we move to Malawi. Malawi, one woman was killed. A 52-year-old woman died mysteriously. And during her burial, when they were escorting her casket to the grave, it refused to move. It refused to move. As in, what do you call these people who carry the caskets? They're very strong men. They're carrying the casket, they're walking, but it's turning them back. And it was directing them to a certain direction. And this certain direction belonged to her in-laws, her sister-in-law. It kept on going back, the coffin. The coffin bearers are walking and it is directing them to the direction of the sisters-in-laws. So the mourners were wondering, what's wrong with these guys? They don't want to take the coffin or what? What is all this about? And so what they did is they gave it to other coffin bearers, thinking that these guys are a joke. And the same thing happened. It was like a force of what do you call this? Like gravitational force or something of the sort. I don't know how to explain it, like you're being pulled by something, some force that you cannot see. And this force is directing you to a certain house. Well, nobody could manage to move that coffin to the burial area. And it went and was laid in that house of the in-law for days because it could not move. It had refused to move. And so an investigation had to be carried out. Why this house? Well, suspicion arose that she was the killer. And funny enough, after investigations, it was discovered that she was actually the killer of the sister-in-law. She never loved her because she heard other women that she wanted her brothers to marry, and she never got along along. She never got on well with this particular sister-in-law, and she killed. People just kill. I don't know why. Why don't you just keep up if you cannot get along with some? Just stay away. You don't kill, man. Thou shall not kill. Then we move to Kakamega in Kenya. The Luyas, the tribe Luyas, have a lot of stories, man. Now this one, from the time that the body of this man was removed from the morgue to be taken to a town in Kakamega, the driver says that the moment he began driving from the morgue, he saw something dark pass in front of him, but he couldn't understand what it was. So he imagined probably he's been sitting in the sun so long, and so maybe the moment he began driving, he saw something dark pass in front of him. Well, they drove for a few miles, and then suddenly the car got stuck. There was no mechanical problem, by the way, from the time they left the morgue, but suddenly the car just stopped. The car stopped, and there was no mechanical issue. Nothing. So, what was that? What was the meaning of that? It was heading home. It was believed that the lady was suffering from cancer, and nobody from her family wanted to contribute anything. Nobody from her family ever visited her. And so it's believed that she was expressing her anger of no relative ever from that area visiting her during her sad moments, during her painful moments. And so why take her there now and pretend that you're crying for her? And when she was alive, nobody attended to her. Well, you know what happened? They got another vehicle. Well, the vehicle moved for a while, and the driver described it that it swerved off the road, and her coffin was thrown out. It was on top of the van. It was thrown off the van, and it lay open on the road, cracked, you know. You can imagine the mess. You have a dead person there, then there is another accident there, and the body has been thrown out, and the coffin has been damaged. What was that? It was the dead communicating that it does not want to be buried in the place that it was going to be buried because it never liked the way it was treated during its sickness. One elderly man said that the only way is either to bury this woman in another place or turn the legs of the dead towards the direction that it's heading and her head behind, away from the place it's heading, and that's the only way that the body will arrive. I don't know what effect that has on the dead, but I believe the spirits could be stronger than that, or maybe to confuse the spirit. But then, the spirits that are reacting, and they're resting in peace. May their soul rest in peace. But some people never rest in peace. What is the mystery behind this? If you know, please put in the comments. If you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. Ciao.